So you keep referencing a book, the Bible and the Old Testament and the scriptures therein.
Yeah.
And while I personally do believe that Christ was a prophet, though I believe other prophets have risen in other religions, I will say that even despite, you know, the various things with the Bible that some people can call imperfections, being written by men, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which implies that Jesus and Mary Magdalene had intimate relationships, and of course, you know, the Gospel stating he had a twin brother, the dozens of Gospels that have been excluded from the Bible.
Right.
Without that, I'm going to use a book. Do you believe that things are right because God said so?
I only know of 4 options in answer to that question. The powerful define right and wrong, King Arthur and his knights.
All right.
Secondly, culture defines right and wrong. American culture, South African culture, Nazi culture.
Okay.
Third option, the individual defines right and wrong.
Right.
You do, I do. Fourth option, God defines right and wrong. If one of the first 3 options is correct, then obviously morality is relative, which means it just depends upon which powerful person or which culture or which individual you're talking to, because we all have disagreements and nobody's right, nobody's wrong, it's relative.
I will say that's a very simplistic way to look at moral relativism.
But if there is a God, then it's possible that there are objective morals,
All right.
because there's a will prior to the human will that wills good.
Do you believe in that fourth option? Mm-hmm. All right. I've been reading about this in my philosophy class.
Good. Way to read.
So, would you say that God, once again, defines what is right and wrong, or do you believe that God sees what is right and wrong and tells us?
Good question. I'm convinced that God's character is good. Therefore, goodness is defined throughout eternity by the character of God.
So goodness and moral values stem from God's
Character.
persona. Right, his character.
Correct.
All right, so under that, that would be not divine command theory, but the argument of divine perfection, correct? Where God is a perfect entity, and because he is a perfect entity, he is able to be the scale by which we judge morals, correct?
Incorrect. The Bible never says God is a perfect entity.
All right.
When the Bible talks about the perfection of God, it's talking about his character.
Right.
His character is perfectly good.
So his moral
Right?
character
Yes, sir.
is perfect.
Right.
All right. So here, I'll get to that though. I'll get to
Well,
that.
I'll answer that if you want me to, but go ahead.
So if God's character is perfect,
Right? Perfectly good.
then his decisions are arbitrary.
What does that mean?
What he says is good is ultimately defined by the only thing that existed in the universe prior to the existence of light, right? So he is in fact saying that this is good because I say so. Based, of course, on what you call a perfect character. But how can we have, if all you ever knew, let's say I had a daughter, the feral child, right? Have you heard of that? There was a most likely developmentally delayed girl who was kept in her room, chained to her bed, and had her food switched out once a day, her waist taken out for 10 years. That 12, excuse me. But regardless of that, if all you ever knew was, let's create an imaginary person named Jebediah. I don't care what his name is. John, sure. We got a guy named John. All that I have ever known was John. He came into my room every day for 12 years. He fed me, he took out my waist. Was that right what John did though by chaining me to that bed? Do I know otherwise? Because you have complete power, or you have a perception of moral perfection, how does that justify how can we be sure that God is really moral perfection? Is there objective morality that is perhaps different from God's? And what about one and another book? There are lots of books. There's the Book of Mormon, there's the Hindu scriptures, there's the Buddhist scriptures. There are, I could go on, we don't need me to. Why are those other books not correct? Is my belief in God less valuable than your belief because I don't believe that Christ is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? Am I allowed to not believe in the correct objective morality? What part of objective morality could I not understand myself if God has already defined it? Wouldn't I know?
If I date rape, are you going to respect my decision to date rape?
No.
Why
But
not?
if God said
Why not?
that you should, excuse me, if you date raped someone,
Yeah.
I would judge that morally wrong.
Is that arrogant on your part?
No,
Why?
because I have a set of relativist beliefs
Right?
that make raping someone wrong
Uh-huh.
in my eyes.
Good. That's your eyes. What about my eyes?
Well,
If I'm a date rapist, what's the basis of you telling me that what I did was wrong?
Taking
Because
away
rape-
the free will.
rape is taking
They don't
away
have
free
consent.
will.
So what's wrong with that?
That's not the choice for you to make.
What's wrong with that?
Well, what is wrong with that? You tell me. You've been talking about it quite a bit.
Good, I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with it. To date rape is wrong because it is a violation of the dignity of a human being created in the image of God. But if a human being is a cosmic accident, then there's nothing absolutely wrong with date rape. It's just a choice. But the reason that date rape is wrong is because God created us with innate, intrinsic value.